Postseason plays on the table and a chance at a winning record, and also the possibilities of having all sorts of departures for this Miami football team heading into 2023. Welcome to the Voice of College Football and our weekly Miami edition on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, right here with Cam Underwood from State of the U. The Canes drop one to Clemson. They look forward to Pitt coming to Hard Rock to conclude the season, and again, the opportunity to go to a bowl and extend the season, extend the practice sessions, and such. Cam, how we doing tonight?
Good. Good to be here and hanging out with you guys. Sorry, I have a couple boxes of stuff and shiny objects. So I was looking over, stuff from a life once lived of years and years and years ago when I was debating going back for my master's and doctorate in musical performance or musical arts. Like one of the diagnostic tests to get into the master's program somewhere, and I was just looking around as Mark was doing his open and I saw it. So sorry, but hey, whatever, I'm good. Here, ready to rock for the next hour.
Hey, we're going to start here, Cam. How important is it for this particular football team to go to a bowl game? Whether that's from the standpoint of prestige, it looks better to be in a bowl game, opportunity to have a winning season, all the things that are just contained to this season and the look of this season versus the tangibles of extra practices and all of that.
The last thing, I mean, honestly, the extra practices are the thing that are the big win from going to a bowl game. The result of the bowl game is inconsequential. You're talking about 6-6. So I haven't even, usually in the end of October, beginning of November, once Miami's bowl eligible, which they've been many, many times, I do the piece going through the ACC bowl selection process and the tiers of, okay, so, you go here, playoff, and if not playoff, Orange Bowl, and if not Orange Bowl, then da-da-da-da, and, who gets picked where, and what are the tie-ins, and da-da-da-da. I haven't even looked at it this year because, we're not even close to it. So, that means it's going to be the bottom of the barrel if we get in to a bowl game. So that's probably whatever bowl is the Sun Bowl in El Paso. The Gasparilla Bowl is probably even above that. So you're probably talking Shreveport. You're probably talking whichever one. The Motor City Bowl is an option. You're talking about, stuff that's in 3 weeks, So the bowl game itself is inconsequential completely. It's the fact that you get 15 extra practices for all of your young players. And if when the season's over, you don't get more practice. They can be around the facility, they can do the player-led thing, but everybody on the field with the coaches, all that work ends after you lose the last game of the year. So, whether that's regular season, bowl, playoff, whatever. So getting those extra 15 practices can really, really, really be transformational for especially the young guys at the end of their first year. Like a guy we haven't even talked about this season. Think about number 22, Chris Graves, right? High school teammate of Malik Curtis at Fort Myers Bishop Verot High School. Two-way standout, 6'1.5", 6'2" cornerback, sub 11. I think he's like 10.8 in the 100. Also not as fast as Malik Curtis, but also a guy who's sub 11. Everything, and he's at the end of his first year. He's still 17 years old.
Mm.
And he was young for his recruiting class cycle. So he might, because he came in as a 17-year-old. So he's probably not even turning 18 till a little bit on. Najee Kelly just turned 18 in the middle of this season, this current season. And he actually started a game and had a sack on his birthday in the middle of the year, right? So think about guys like that getting 15 extra practices with the benefit of youth too. And the time horizon is the big thing that can have a positive effect on potential because you're bringing in a guy who's 17, Anton Jackson from Dillard, reclassified up, and he was a 2024 kid, and he's going to come in and he's going to early enroll. He's going to be there in January at 16 years old. Because he's not Like you've seen guys like, I've told the story of old grandpa Judy, right? Who aged out of eligibility at 19 and 9 months in September. He hit campus in Tuscaloosa as a 20-year-old, right? Mark Walton was a guy who was old for his grade, reclassified down. A guy like Josh Jobe wanted to do the Jerry Jeudy thing, but Florida has since changed the ruling or the eligibility requirement where you cannot be 19 at all, or once your season you cannot be 19 before your senior season starts, which Josh Jobe was. That's why he went to the prep school in Connecticut. So all these things so we've seen guys who are old for their grade and then they reclassify down to be on their par year grade level. You know what I mean? Like with their peer level age group. Antoine Jackson is with his peer level age group. But all those credits that they have you take in high school, you don't actually need. And the NCAA clearinghouse does not require all of those other things. Things like my classes that I taught, music appreciation, choir, vocal ensemble, you don't need any of those. You need one. But that can also be a core elective. So if you're taking, if you're a person who does double reading and has a reading with an intensive class or English with an intensive reading, or you can get your elective out of the way. And all the core classes, your 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic, basically, throw in some history. And that's about it. And so Antoine Jackson looked at it and said, if I work ahead and I do my English 4 while I'm doing my English 3, which is really the only thing. And then I think he probably had to do economics and U.S. history online. But if I do all of those, I'm good. Not right now, but right now. So actually, he had to do a lot. He had to do second semester English 3, both semesters of English 4, econ and government or senior classes. Outside of those credits, that's pretty much it. If he's already done his math and everything else. So then he's just like, hey, yeah, I could stick around the hood and, play another year here at Dillard. He even came on the timeline and said, hey, I could have gone to Aquinas. I could have gone to Heritage. I could have gone to one of them private schools. But I'm from around the way in Fort Lauderdale. I went to the neighborhood school to put on for my city, put on for my hood, literally, right there. And that's why I didn't go somewhere else like that. I'm proud of my team. Yeah, we lost in the playoffs, but I'm with that. And he did all the work to say, cool, I'm going to hit campus now as a 16-year-old. Imagine next year where he will be 17 years old at this point of next season as a college freshman, same as Chris Graves, getting those extra 15 practices. Bro, just think about the potential there as opposed to, even if I'm going to not talk about Judy, fine, because he was super duper duper old. Even like a Josh Jobe, who was 19 years and I think he was 19 years and 7 months when he hit campus, because he was 19 before the fall started in August and things like that. But you got a kid who's 17 years and 8 months versus a kid who's 19 and 7 months. And actually, he would have been 20 years old because it would have been the end of that season, and they're getting those extra practices, those extra reps. That's really where you can become excited about the potential and the path forward. So, yeah, and it's not just with those guys, any of the other young guys, Cam Kinchins should be a first-team All-American if we're going off of play on the field. I know that he plays for a terrible team, fine. But that's a first-team All-ACC, first-team All-American performance. He's put on film on the field this current season. Yet and still, he's only a sophomore. You don't want him to have 15 extra practices to continue to level up like we've already seen him level up. Leonard Taylor, Daryl Jackson, who Kevin Steele waxed very poetic about on Monday, say, hey, if you look at it, teams run away from 6. And big boy, it's a big man in there. Don't you want that who's a sophomore? All those guys, all that. I haven't even gotten to the big one. You don't want 15 more practices for Jakari Brown to learn how to throw the ball accurately? That's the biggest thing. So, yeah, and I know I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but, yeah, the bowl game itself, the destination and the result, inconsequential. Getting there and having that extra development time coordinated with the staff in the guise of, hey, I put together this program, or I have this paradigm, or I know how to develop these kids. And I know the steps along the path, but we get to take more of those steps now so that you can get that integrated into your body moving forward. That's the biggest thing. There is also the potential for a 5-7 team to make a bowl game, and Miami would be near the top of that list because Miami has done very well in the APR standings since they've introduced those academic standards. Academic performance review, I believe, is what it's called. So there is the chance, and I haven't looked at the number of eligible teams versus the number of bowl slots, so I don't know. But there's a chance at 5-7, even if Miami does lose this game, that they could basically back their way into a bowl game. But hey, regardless, if you get those extra 15 practices, that's the more important thing than anything else in this scenario, in my estimation.
In terms of the growth of the program, I don't think there's much debating any of that. As a guy who enjoys postseason play and enjoys the bowl games, I care about the bowl games, so I just would. Yeah, I would be interested in.
I mean, like, look, if we go to a bowl game, I'm going to want to win it. You
Sure.
know what I mean? I'm not going to say, just mail it in and, sim to end for 4 quarters. Like, we're going to go, if we're going to go play.
Yeah.
But if we lose that game,
yeah,
whatever. It's the journey, not the destination right now. Because, again, what destination for Miami are we talking about? 6, maybe 7 wins? Cool, bro. But could it be a step along the journey towards being a 9-10 win team, towards hopefully eventually challenging for an ACC championship overall? Yeah, that's more important than getting a bowl trophy in December of 2022.
I have been to I don't know how many sites looking for the ACC bowl tie-ins. I can't find a site that is discernible. It's just unbelievable that there just be lists. This really annoys me about certain topics out there. Some are sports related, others are not, where all I want is a list. I don't need to read paragraphs, and I don't need to read about other conferences.
I think ACC bowl tie-ins in Google, and it comes up. It's a link to the ACC.com website.
Okay.
And it has the graphic on there and then the list. But the graphic is the one because it has the tiers. So college football playoff, New Year's 6. I mean, obviously the college football playoff would be the top. Home of the ACC champion is the Orange Bowl if they don't make the playoff. Everybody knows that already. Then after that, you have other bowls, and I believe it goes in that tier level. So you have the Bella Quest. What is that one? There's a list down there. I gotta look. Relia Quest. So that is in Orlando.
That is the
old Citrus Bowl. Yeah, something like that.
The Outback Bowl.
Right. So there's that. Cheez-It Bowl. The Holiday Bowl is a potential. Tax Slayer, the Gator Bowl, Duke's Mayo, Pinstripe, Tony the Tiger, which is the Sun Bowl now, Military Bowl, Fenway, Birmingham, and Gasparilla in Tampa. And then is there another one down there? Oh, good. They got rid of the Louisiana one, unless they renamed it one of those other ones. So, yeah, but it goes down that whole thing or whatever. So, I mean, basically, if Miami making a bowl game, you're looking at, one of those first ones. So maybe the Wasabi Fenway Bowl. That's an option. The Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, the Birmingham Bowl. All those are, the first 2 are before Christmas. The other one is 2 days after. The day after, which is the day after my cousin's birthday. There's 2 on the 28th, 2 on the 29th. I wouldn't think that, if Miami were to get to a bowl game, it's going to be but the thing about it is, again, bowl games on television are television shows. So even though Miami's bad, it has a name. So they might even bump up a little bit from just whatever the bottom of the barrel bowl in the picture is, just on the fact that it has orange and green and a U on the helmet. So Yeah, but I mean, it wouldn't be much later than that. I would say probably it's one of those first 5 bowls that would be before December 28th or earlier. And you kind of just go from there.
So according to the ACC standings currently right now, there is only one other team that can become bowl eligible that is currently not, and that's Georgia Tech, and they're playing Georgia.
Yikes.
Forget them. Miami would be the only team that has bowl eligibility on the line this Saturday. Everybody else, Clemson, Florida State, and a ton of 7-4 teams, Louisville, NC State, Wake, Syracuse, of course, North Carolina, and the Coastal, along with Pitt, Duke. There we go. Though that's the lineup. Now, I might be outdated with this analysis and information, but you used to be able to, it wasn't like a bowl could grab a 6-6 Miami because they thought that they were a better draw than a 9-3 Wake. They couldn't go to those extremes, but they could go like a 1-game jump or a
yeah. You're not gonna see like Miami in the Gator Bowl or the Outback Bowl, whatever they rename that. Those are like tier 1 of the non-playoff bowls.
There
the
was
non-New Year's
flexibility for a bowl to reach, but they can only reach.
But not like that. No. You're not gonna. Right. I mean, something. I mean, it would be maybe within the lower tier or the bottom 3 or 4 who kind of have a round robin pick thing because you pick from teams around the country, so it kind of goes in concentric circles or counter circles. It's like, okay, it's something like that. So like in the group of the bottom 3 or 4 bowls, I could see one of them just kind of reaching and taking Miami on name brand alone. But yeah, it wouldn't be something because that's technically a tier 3 level situation below the New Year's Six. You wouldn't see a tier 1 bowl reaching them for a 6-6 Miami past all those other teams that have more wins and a better season this year. That wouldn't happen.
Yeah. And as a college football guy, I just find interest in watching teams play that would never otherwise play. And if, let's say, Miami goes to the Sun Bowl and they play a team from the Pac-12 and they draw Oregon State, I'm just interested in seeing 2 teams that otherwise would not play and probably have never played or haven't played recently. I'm just all about that myself.
Right. And the Sun Bowl, again, I've been to El Paso one time in my life. And, the next time, I mean, another time would be, that's already one too many. So I will be watching that from the comfort of wherever else because I am never returning to El Paso, Texas ever in life. No, I refuse.
Wow.
I refuse.
Cam's future does not include Chamber of Commerce status at El Paso.
Nope, sure doesn't, and that's okay.
Falcon Rex, thanks for leading us off. We appreciate you being here as always. Thank you so much for the super sticker and a little super chat action as well. Perhaps Miami's problems are the turf. It's just
okay. Maybe that's an inside joke. I don't know.
Way back, that's one of Falcon Rex's.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Kyloren, Miami Cane. I hate Ohio State. I hope they lose. Go Canes.
Ditto that. Hey, I'm a native Michigander. I have an uncle, and I mean, 44% of my graduating class from Cranbrook went to Michigan. The majority of the others went to State, and then a bunch of us. Well, it wasn't even that many actually, because had some people who went to Ivies and private schools like Miami, such as myself. But no, I'm with it. Today is the 30-year anniversary of Desmond Howard's punt return left against the Acorns, and yesterday was the 97 season, so 25 of Charles Woodson's also punt return left up the left sideline called against the Acorns for an iconic touchdown in that rivalry game to help both of those gentlemen win the Heisman. And as I was rewatching it, Desmond Howard's went to the left, but it was actually up Michigan's sideline. Charles Woodson, an Ohio native who spurned them.
Both of them.
Both of them actually,
Ohio
excuse me,
natives.
are Ohio natives. Yeah. But Woodson's was actually up the Ohio State sideline, which just added a little bit of joy to my day. And I hope that they lose. I am not sure, especially with Blake Corum maybe not being 100% going into the game. And I mean, just the firepower that they have over there in Scarlet and Gray. However, their defense can give up some stuff, but J.J. McCarthy is going to have to grow up in a big way for that. But I will be watching that as I always do and rooting for Michigan. So go Big Blue.
Kylorin, I hate your super chat, but for as many times as you would like to present super chats, I will read them. It would be nice if they were a little, if they were going to be something unpleasant for me to read, that they would be a little heftier.
Look, I will say, when I was doing shout outs when I worked at Miramar and I did the announcing, sometimes people would get a little spicy on them. And I would start to read and say, well, okay. And then would, whoa, let me look at that and come back to you after the play. And actually, a couple of times I actually got into it with the dad of a kid who was actually in choir also. He was really, really good. His senior year, he was. I wish I would have had him for 2 or 3 years. He was really, man, he was good. And he got those, he was a football player and he got the boys in shape together. He was like, yo, we're going to do this. And we're really, really a good men's section that year. But his dad was upset at the coaching staff at the time. And he was writing all kinds of filth. And I told him, because I had my student officers, my chorus officers who were selling the shout outs. I was like, you know whose daddy this is. Take him his money back. Look, I will refund you your money before I, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, slightly different, but yeah. All kinds of cuss words in there. I'm like, you want me to get fired, fam? Like,
I would be remiss without following up on Cam's observation and observance of 2 Ohio State Michigan anniversaries. I'll include this one. 20 years ago was Ohio State's win over Michigan, which led to a 13-0 season and a national championship game appearance and win over Demetrius.
More thumbs down.
What's up, Mark Rogers, Cam Underwood? We appreciate everybody. We can't say hi to everyone, but we do in totality here. BGPO Football Fun. Clemson owns Miami. Let's go Tigers.
Look, man, it is. I think I have the numbers still up in the 178 to 30 in the last 4 meetings since 15. Yeah,
What's intriguing, of course, is that Miami has all sorts of potential to make a run at Clemson and the rest of the ACC here at some point. What's also intriguing is that with the scheduling format change in the ACC, we will see this game every other year going forward.
Should, yeah. So, wait. Yes, every other year. Well,
right?
Should be, but remember they were doing some funny stuff, so it's not 100% every other year because there's a funny thing. We talked about this, but it's supposed to be the 3, and then it's 5 of the other 10. But they worded it that it's 5 of the other 10, not 1/2 versus 1/2.
Oh,
like we talked about this when they dropped that. Like, yeah, there's like 1 or 2 teams here and there that they did some funny business with. So yeah, I mean, it'll be way more frequent for sure, but it's not 100% unless they changed it since they had a typo in what they initially released. Because there was like one team, like one non-designated opponent for each team where it was not 100% every other year thing. It was weird.
Why?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe it has something to do with the non-conference games that have already been locked in for a couple of years or something like that, or whatever. But Yeah, because I made that same assumption, and then I looked at it, and it sat wrong. Like, it didn't actually fit that every other year paradigm. But again, maybe that was a typo, and maybe they revised that. But yeah, we should see this a lot more often. And hopefully, Miami is able to do their part to close the gap, because, as we talked about last week for about 15 minutes, Clemson's clearly not top 3 Clemson, but you wouldn't be able to tell the difference because it looked the same as the average 44.5 to 7.5 score over the last 4 matchups between these two teams. It was bad.
MDB 2006, we appreciate you. Thank you. Mario does not deserve benefit of the doubt for this season. No wins against a team with a winning record and blowout losses at home are unforgivable.
Nobody's saying that this is a year that has to be benefit of the doubt given. This is, like I said, this is year 0. This is the tear it down year. Look, I came into the year with a different mindset, and clearly, Mario and I look at things differently, and the way that he is going about just gutting this program and roster speaks to that. Because I didn't think that this roster needed the culling, the gutting that is getting and will continue to have. But whether I believed it or not, that's what's happening. So yeah, I'm not saying that this is giving the benefit of the doubt, but what it really is about talent acquisition. It's about changing and flipping this roster. We can have that conversation next. because you lead into that. But look, you've already had 4 guys announce their intentions to transfer. I did a kind of, I looked at the roster and ran down the list. I'm not going to call any names right now because that would be maybe not the greatest thing for me to do, but I got 25, excuse me. I got 25 guys as either possible or certain to leave this roster, not including the seniors, because that's its own. If they're out of, Caleb Johnson's a 6th or 7th year COVID senior, he's not coming back. I'm talking about, those guys who are, seeking shelter elsewhere, or the staff, maybe talking to them and saying, hey, we would love for you to be successful, but we really don't think you're going to be successful here. We don't think that you have what it takes. I think it's going to be a lot. And if we're at 4 announced entries into the portal, I really think in that, I would put the over-under at 19.5 of transfers out this year. And I would take the over. Honestly, like I said, I got 25 or 26 dudes on my list, and I didn't even have Elijah Roberts because I always would get Elijah Roberts mixed up with Jabari Ishmael, and Jabari Ishmael's father, Big Vic, he's been working at Miami in the athletic training department for, he was there when I was a student in 2000. You know what I mean? So he's been there for 25, 30 years. I'm like, oh yeah, the kid's not going to leave, but I forgot that the other 6'4", 6'5" defensive end from Miami Columbus, there's 2 of them. I always conflated them into one. So yeah, I had, like I said, 24, 25, and I didn't even have one of those dudes who was Roberts, who's already announced his intent to transfer. So you add one on top of that list. It's really going to be a massive, massive turnover project. And then, again, that's of the non-seniors who are out of eligibility. So you really don't have to give Mario credit for this year. He's not even looking credit for this year. I saw somebody tweet it, I forget who, but said basically, this season is an audition for everybody. Do you deserve to be here or not moving forward? Coaching staff, players, and again, not because we won the national championship this year, but do you show the foundation for being the kind of addition, valuable player, person, whomever, to this program to get to the level that we want to be on? Wesley Bassant, Cameron Kinchins, James Williams, Leonard Taylor, Daryl Jackson, Jakari Brown. And no, he's not a great passer. Yes, he has miles and miles of development needed to get to be where he needs to be. But that's a guy that you can go to battle with, right? You can say, okay, cool. This is a whole audition. We're going to figure it out. And if you don't fit in to our intermediate or long-term plan, we'll find you somewhere else where you can be successful. And then move forward with someone else to replace your scholarship slot. That's really what this season is about. And for that, I'm going to give Cristobal the credit the benefit of the doubt, because at every stop of his career, he's been an elite recruiter, even coming in this last year and locking down. Again, Nigel Kelly was not coming to Miami. 100%. He himself said it. Everybody knew it. Cristobal got the job, locked that down. Bang. He's a freshman All-American this year, or should be. Jaleel Skinner was going to Alabama. Even until the last day of the early signing period, they were expecting his national letter of intent. And Nick Saban had to do the same thing that he did. Where the fuck is Dan Enos? Looking for him for a coaches meeting. And one of the staffers in the building had to be the ones, he's gone. Where'd he go? To Miami. Sorry, coach. But we pulled that steal off with Jaleel Skinner, the number 2 tight end in the last recruiting class, at the last second. Trevante Citizen, hello, somebody. LSU, he was maybe dropped LSU, said, okay, he's probably going to go to Florida, right? Wrong, right? So this is a guy, Cristobal, who year after year after year has done an exemplary job. He's once or twice the national recruiter of the year. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. And this is where you really start to see things coming together. Now, next year, I need to see a step forward on the field. 2 years hence, I probably need to be at that 9, 10, or plus win range. If we're having this kind of a season, then, in the future, then it's a different kind of conversation. But right now, you're trying to figure out who's going to be here with you as you build this. So, no, I mean, I absolutely hate the losses. Don't get me wrong. I don't like the way that we've performed. I've been very harsh in my grading of the performances because it has not been where it needs to be. But the story of this season is not going to be the story of Cristobal here. And I think that focusing singularly on that is maybe a bit narrow in your view of things.
Having quite the back and forth in the chat between our guy Talk is Pitt, who has obviously sniffed out the Miami stream for this week because he usually joins us for the Miami live streams, although Talk is Pitt shows up on some of our other ones, but showing up for the game here for this week. And Pitt's coming off a win against Duke 28-26 to raise their record to 7-4.
Mm-hmm.
Israel Abanikanda is one of the top rushers in college football, put up another 113-yard day last week. He seems to do that every week. And Jakari Brown.
He's talking. Yeah.
So obviously the numbers are
what about Jakari?
Against Clemson than they were against Georgia Tech. That's to be expected. You would have to watch the game to evaluate the performance because the numbers are so much different because just a different level of opponent. Did you think that he performed and took another step, considering, again, less time to throw, better coverage in the secondary, all those things, or
no?
Not necessarily,
no. It really just, and this is kind of what I was worried about, it really highlighted his inability to throw the ball at this point consistently down the field. Second play of the game, we go quick on a no huddle thing and get Xavier Restrepo on a slot fade, butt naked wide open. I'm talking backflips, cartwheels. I mean, there's nobody within probably a 25-yard square on the field. I mean, he is as open can be. And Jakari Brown couldn't hit him with the ball. And I immediately tweeted it. I said that was the double move to Jeff Thomas in the ACC championship game in 2017 when he was wide open on play action. He ran it was a double move. It looked like he was going to go to a corner, and then he chopped it up and went back to the post after he widened the safeties. And you had a safety on the other side who was occupied by a high-low concept. So, I mean, he was gone, wide open. Malik Rozier couldn't hit him. And that, I think, changed the tenor of the game. And missing that throw on the second play of offense, so there it goes. And that's one you have to have. Like, I really don't care. Like, come hell or high water, you got to hit that. I don't, it's like, well, there was some pressure that I told y'all that Miami blocking Clemson's defensive line was going to be not a great prospect. I wrote it on our site. I answered the question on Shaking the Southland, our sister site for Clemson on SB Nation, with a question and answer with one of their writers. I mean, at least it clearly stood out to me. Miami blocking their defensive line was going to be an issue. Yet and still, he had enough time to step up there. You can see that he has an arm that he can fling it 70, 80 yards. But if you can't put the ball on somebody that wide open, what are we doing here? It's like, well, Gaddis gets no credit for that. They ran the concept, they ran the scheme that he called, they went at the tempo that he called, and we ran that, and all of those things put together forced Clemson into the miscommunication that got the broken coverage, that got him wide open. I'm sorry. I'm not saying that he 100% gets credit for it, but I'm not going to say it's no credit when you call the play, you design the play, and you go with the tempo that you're calling. You know what I mean? Like, you have to take that into consideration. Yet and still, wide open, Jakari Brown couldn't hit him. I mean, and again, I'm not thinking that Miami had a real chance in this game, not even maybe a real chance to cover in this game. But when you got a guy open by 25 yards, you got to hit him. You have to hit him. I'm sorry. You have to hit that throw, period. And it was, hey, maybe the kid is, 18 years old and he got hyped up on adrenaline and, oh, shit, and just flung it as hard as he could, which probably wasn't even as hard as he could because he would have put that thing through the uprights if he would have done that. But still, no, it's just not. He's not there as a passer. Clemson's not going to let you run the ball the way that you want to. And like, I tweeted something that was tongue in cheek. I'm not going to delete it because I have seen people say this in my Twitter mentions. They've said it on our website of like, oh, Jakari Brown is Cam Newton. And I'm like, he's not Cam Newton. And so like at one point I was like, well, the difference between Cam Newton runs that linebacker over and Jakari Brown doesn't. And people are still at it. They're like, yo, delete this. Yo, you're a clown. And I'm like, oh, this is where I took a niche internet thing that has been said to me and I brought it to y'all without giving proper context. But if you look at the way that he wants to play, it's almost like he wants to be Cam Newton. But I'm like, it's not the same. And you're not that big. Like 6'4", 225 is big. Cam Newton was like 6'6", 250. It was a different kind of size, a different kind of physicality and everything. But they'll let you run, right? But then you're going to run 10 times for 22 yards and had a long of 40. So think about all the times he gets hit. Think about all the times he gets sacked. Think about all the other times that he has a called quarterback run and it goes nowhere, right? 6 out of 13 with the interception. Not terrible, considering he was a 53% passer in high school and, 46% on the day against one of the better defenses, sure. But a lot of you're back up against it and you need those, right? And you're going to have these 3 and outs. And as I'm looking at the stats again, Miami went 3 for 11 on third down. I guarantee, a lot of those 13 passing attempts came on those called 11 third downs. A lot of it's 13, right? But those are all going to be behind the sticks because they're crashing to the run in Miami, whether it's Jakari Brown or Jalen Knighton or Henry Parrish, not able to find any room. And when it came, time he needs to hit a throw, he does not have that ability yet. And it really just exacerbated or really put a spotlight on this is where in what part of your game and what in your game is deficient. And yeah, I mean, and I know that he's a true freshman. I know he's another young guy who's like 18 years old, but being as much of a gamer as he is and all kinds of things like that, the moment was absolutely too big for him, 100%. And, you miss that throw, you miss another. There were another couple throws that were pretty open that he misses. Like, no, that was, I'm not going to call it a step back because I don't think that he really had taken a step forward too much before. He was just kind of who he was. But yeah, just a real center stage spotlight on these are the areas of your game that have to develop, or that have to develop for you to be successful.
When was that throw? At what point in the game that he missed the guy 25 yards open?
It was the second offensive snap of the game. We were down 7-0. It was literally the second snap of the game.
That's what I thought you said because I went to the Okay. I've got a condensed game, so they skipped right over that.
But if I'm looking, go back to quarter one. Clemson got the ball, boom, boom. No huddle. Jalen Knighton rush up the middle to the 27. No huddle shotgun. Jakari Brown pass incomplete towards Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah.
That's like literally the second play of the game.
I wanted to see it. Anyway.
Somebody found it on Twitter. I sent it to somebody. My stream always slows down because I have TweetDeck and it streams the tweets on all my accounts and everything. I'll find that and at you with it.
Here's the full game.
But like literally, yeah, like second play of the game.
Okay, here's
like an offensive snap, I should say. Yeah.
Falcon Rex, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Quote, most people don't want to be part of the process. They just want to be part of the outcome. But the process is where you figure out who's worth being part of the outcome. End quote, Alex Morton.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've seen the speech from the coach at Miami Central before the season, he's talking about, like, hey, it's hard, but we're going to be champions, and it's not for everybody. And you can complain about it, but we know what we're doing. We're building this culture. We have this performance, and it's not easy. It's not for everybody, and everything is not for everybody. Every kid was not on the football team. Every person who sung a note in high school was not in my choir, even though, and just even if they had the talent and everything is not for everybody, and at this point, it is definitely more process over result, and yeah, you do want to have the success, but do you want to put in the sweat equity? You know what I mean? Like you want to be a championship player, but were you there to do the work? Like, did you do your part of the work to grow not only as a player, but as a team to be a championship level organization? But that's what we're talking about. And it's not for everybody. And being here with these coaches at the University of Miami is not for everybody. And yeah, we're going to see a massive, massive turnover to the roster and change before next season.
MDB 2006. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for the contribution. These quarterbacks don't deserve this. These quarterbacks got shell shocked. Okay. Bad offensive line and play calling got them rocked. OC never accounts for the slot blitz.
I mean, guys got to get the ball out also. That safety was on Jakari Brown. Like, there was a cornerback blitz from the short side of the field to his left. He was looking that way to Ladson. Now, he could have pumped. He could have slid inside and thrown that ball. He could have thrown it on time. You had Will Mallory coming in the middle of the linebackers playing zone who were wide open. Like, you could have cut that ball loose on time. 1, 2, 3, balls out. You could have cut that ball loose. Didn't. Tried to make a hero play because he runs around and got maybe a little bit frantic and then gave up the safety. So while and I say that to say that two things can be true. I think that bad offensive line, yes. Play calling in spots has left something to be desired. But every time that anybody does one of those film reviews, whether it's Steve-O, whether it's Roman, whether it's Justin DeTavio on our website, whether that's whomever, every game there's plays of dudes just running wide ass open. And then I think that the one thing, the offensive line precludes the quarterback from having the time to be able to find them. But like, there's been plenty of plays where it's just like, and there's many a time where it's just one guy not doing his job up front. Maybe it's the running back not being able to block that linebacker. So now we got to talk about the rotational usage of that guy. Because, I love Jalen Knighton, but him against a 6'3", 220-pound linebacker, in blitz pickup, that's probably not going to go well. Will Mallory being left in to solo block against the defensive end, that's not going to go well because, number one, he's one of your best pass receivers on this team. And number two, he's not a good blocker. So you're not going to leave him one-on-one. So there's been enough blame to go around. There's been a lot of issues this season. And, I just think that you can see the clear gulf between Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia and Jakari Brown from what's been seen on the field. We finally started to get some offense going when we just, Josh Gaz basically brought in Tyler Van Dyke and was like, Tyler, what do you want to run, bro? Like what y'all did last year. Just draw it up. We're going to put it in the playbook. Let's just run those things. And that's great. But we don't have somebody else who can step in and run that same thing. So it's been a comedy of errors. It's not only the things that you bring to the fore as being issues are true, but the list is much longer than that.
I saw the play, and yes, he was wide open, and it looked like a route in which an accomplished quarterback would have hit him in stride, and that's a touchdown. A less accomplished quarterback, but still a competent quarterback, would have thrown it maybe in such a way that was conservative to basically say, I'm just completing this ball, and you may have to wait for it. You're going to catch it. The defense may catch you, but we're still going to gain 45 or 50 yards on this play. Right. And you see that a lot. But obviously, I don't know if that thought process was going through his mind, or that's right. Just there's a dude, throw the ball.
Yeah. I mean, you've even seen some of those guys who are wide open. They have to make a diving catch, which in the NFL you can get up and run, but in college you're down at that spot. It was. I mean, but that was a big glaring miss, and we all saw it together in real time. But again, that just kind of speaks to where Jakari needs to do work to improve. I do think he should start this week. I think if you want to go to a 2-quarterback rotation with him and Jake Garcia, I would rather see that in like series as opposed to plays, because it's unfair to Jake Garcia when you have 3rd and 13 just to bring him in off the sideline. It's like, so you got a good defensive line on the other side. You have a bad offensive line protecting him, and you're going to have the defensive ends with their ears pinned back just to rush the passer. And this guy is going to have no time. He's going to, find a way to turn the ball over, which he's been doing, and he needs to stop doing. It's just like you're going to put him behind the 8 ball every single time that, you pass on the cue stick. Like that's not really fair for one, and it's not conducive to being effective either. Maybe sometimes you call that quarterback draw. Maybe sometimes you run that screen pass with Jakari just to give him the entire series. So I would rather that than like every play kind of a thing, back and forth. But it's going to be a tall task to beat Pittsburgh because they're a competent team. They're tough defensively. And not that they've had Miami's number per se, but like, again, if you give up 17 points, where are you going to get those on offense? It's, unless you're doing the thing like you did against Georgia Tech and did for the first 45 minutes against Clemson, and you're going to win the turnover, battle by 2 or 3, and as bad as that beatdown was on Saturday, Miami had the ball down 16 inside the Clemson 40. Like there was a chance, small, infinitesimal though it was, like you find a way to get in the end zone there, you get a 2-point conversion. It's an 8-point game at 26-18. Clearly, we know how it ended up. But like that game was in, like, you could hear the Miami fans who traveled to Clemson, South Carolina. Like, it was, even the broadcast was like, well, okay, we got to see, if, what's going on with Clemson. They didn't want to call it Clemsoning because it wasn't to that level, but it was like Clemsoning wasn't in the room, but Clemsoning like cracked the door and peeked an eye through. You know what I mean? Like it was just like they kept turning the ball over and they kept doing, some, negative things and letting a bad team hang around, which, I mean, let's be honest, Miami's not a good team this year, but letting a team hang around, having the ball inside your 40 down 2 scores midway through the 4th quarter, like 10 minutes left, like a couple plays go a different way. We could have been in it all the way to the end. And I mean, again, you've seen other teams who've been not great, Pittsburgh in previous years, Syracuse a couple times, taking Clemson to the brink or beating them. And, that game was not the blowout that it ended up being until pretty much the end. So, I mean, I hate to say, no, Georgia Tech was our most complete game. No. Miami versus Georgia Tech was the most complete game by far. So I'm not saying that like we were all the way there, but this was definitely at least the first 45. Well, I would say even more than that because into the fourth quarter. So I would say about maybe the first 50, 55 minutes of the game. Well, not 55, like 53 minutes of the game. Even with it being a 26-10 score through that point of the game, that's a moral victory, which is sad to say because we only had 10 points and 8 yards of offense in the first half and 98 yards total, which, I mean, to even have it be as close as it was speaks to the yeoman's effort put forward by the defense.
Yeah, I did see that on the bottom line. I had this game on like a third screen, so I was catching every, fourth play or whatever.
Right.
And I did see a stat that this is the first time since, I forget the year, that Miami had less than 100 yards of total offense. Was it the 1950s or 60s?
Yeah. Something like that.
5 or something?
Something like that.
All right.
A good long time. Yeah.
Yes. Way before any of us can, even me, remember. We're here every Wednesday night. And of course, National Signing Day is always on a Wednesday. So that would be 3 weeks from today, I believe. What is the latest on the recruiting front as Miami tries to improve on a class that is currently ranked where? It was 13 last I remember.
Or like 8, 9, I thought.
8, 9? Okay.
Somewhere in
Let's
there.
see.
Yeah, man. Number one is just getting all the guys who are currently committed to sign. Most of them are going to sign early. And most of those that sign early are going to enroll early also. So that means hitting campus in January. So there's that. And then, you just try to close down on a couple, outstanding in a double entendre way. So as in uncommitted and in incredible players, athletes, to join the class. So a guy like, Ruben Bain from Miami Central, that's a guy that, you look to close down on. 5-star defensive end probably, but athlete from Washington, D.C., Nicholas Harbor, updated his top 5. He dropped Miami for Georgia. But I think that from a lot of what I'm seeing, he's leaning more heavily into track than football. That's the big, gigantic 6'5", 230 dude who runs like a 10-2 in the 100 guy. Yeah. Samson Okunlola, obviously. Other teams around the country are recruiting that 5-star tackle from Massachusetts, but Miami continues to put their best foot forward and everything. It'll be really interesting just to see how many guys from the high school ranks Miami takes, and then also transfers. There's been a lot of guys who have entered the transfer portal, even guys who are stepping up from like FCS level. There's a couple wide receivers that have popped and gotten offers recently since they've entered the portal. And that's going to be a major, major area for adding to the roster. I think that after missing out on every one of the top tier of receivers through the portal last year, Miami's really going to focus on that and try to bring in probably 2, to be perfectly honest. And the guys who, Miami whiffed on, you see them making plays every day, like Mario Williams, who's from Plant City. Harbor is an incredible player. Yeah, but probably going to apply his trade elsewhere. I mean, if he, plays football at all, like honestly, track might be his meal ticket or chosen meal ticket. But yeah, a guy like Antoine Juice Wells at South Carolina, he's their #1 receiver, and they just had that dynamic blowout of Tennessee. Sad to see Hendon Hooker go down, but still, the receiver, like I was talking about for South Carolina, he was one of those guys that Miami whiffed on. He's making plays. Mario Williams at SC from Plant City, he's making plays. Obviously, he went to Oklahoma and then transferred over. Obviously, Jordan Addison, another guy that Miami went after, only won the Biletnikoff Award last year. So like all these dudes that Miami went after, wherever they landed, they're making all kinds of plays, and that's really what was missing from the receiver room this year. So it's going to be a real big focus to bring in some game ready talent. Your KJ Osborne, your Charleston Rambo, like a guy who can slide into a #1 or #2 role the instant that he sets foot on campus in Coral Gables. So there's going to be a lot of that and everything. And then, it's just really locking down a couple of these guys who are uncommitted at the present. Miami's chasing a couple of guys who are committed elsewhere as well, which, everybody is. There's defensive tackles committed to North and South Carolina, respectively, that Miami's chasing. You got Jakari Brown, Selwyn Brown's kid from American Heritage, Mark Fletcher, who just decommitted from Ohio State, but it looks like he's probably going to go to Florida, which, I mean, if you want to be a running back and go do that, sure. But yeah, that's really what it is. It's holding serve on the ones that you have, and I think the staff has done the ones you have committed, which I think the staff has done a really good job of, and then adding and selecting who's going to help round out this group. And again, it's going to need to be a big group because you're going to have an aggregate 45 or 50 turnover if you include the seniors. That's a big number. It's a big number. And you're not going to get, even though you could, because remember this year and next year are uncapped in terms of recruiting, you could hypothetically, theoretically get that many players from the preps ranks, high schools to pick your team, which would be really outstanding, especially if we're in the beginning of a rebuild, but just getting all kinds of elite talent. But you're probably not going to get that many. So, I mean, you're going to look to be mid 25, maybe 30-ish. From the high school ranks, and then fill in, another, maybe, the rest through the portal and everything. But there's going to be plenty of players out there. All right. There's going to be plenty of spots on this roster up until the 85 to fill. So we're just, following that and getting ready for signing day. I already got a couple notebooks done because I already, started doing some of the work early and, just going to spend some time, probably like do 1 or 2 a day, so that by the time the National Signing Day gets here in 3 weeks, I'll just be ready to fire those things off. Guys obviously can rock with me. I always, make the time, create the space to be there, the whole entire day and everything. So, very excited. But, to the early question about, not giving Mario the benefit of the doubt for this season. It's not for this season, but definitely for the recruiting season, going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And I'm excited to see how he and the staff close.
Folks, we do this every Wednesday. So come on back next Wednesday and do this for us. Bring a friend or 2 or 50. Tell people on social media that we're here every Wednesday talking Canes, 7:00 Eastern time with Cam Underwood from State of the U. And we appreciate your time. Cam, thank you so much for making this happen.
Absolutely. Thanks for, having me on. Thanks for continuing to rock with us and everything. And, for myself and, I'm kind of speaking for Mark, but from the both of us, we wish you and your families and friends just a happy Thanksgiving. This is a great holiday time, and I hope that you spend it with those who are near and dear to you, and that you enjoy those things. If it is a tough time for you, it is for me, because if you do not know, my father died by suicide slightly before Christmas in 2004. 2005. So the whole holiday season since then has been tough for me for the last 18 years. There are people there. My all the time pinned tweet on Twitter is for the Suicide Prevention Helpline. So you can go to afsp.com or .org. That's the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, or dial 988 and everything. And like we all go through things. And I know that sometimes like this, like being around those who are close to you is great. And if those people aren't there for you anymore, it can be challenging. And trust and believe that I'm there with you, because days like tomorrow are going to be tough for me. for the rest of my life. Just that's what it is. But you don't have to carry that alone. And as Mark was up there, yeah, so that's my tweet. I haven't been tweeting it out in a couple of years, as you see, but again, afsp.org, there's the full number, or you can just dial or text 988 for the helpline. And I just wanted to take a second to say that. So, yeah, we do wish everybody well. We hope that it is, a great holiday and that you're able to have a wonderful time with those close to you. But if you're not, or if it is a struggle for you, you do not have to bear that alone. Like it says, you can always tweet or DM me. I am not a clinically certified therapist, but I can be somebody who can listen for a while and try to help you find the help that you want or maybe need. And there have been plenty of people who have availed themselves of that and everything. I've even had people, I mean, obviously I would never betray anybody's confidence, but just thinking back, like there's been people with not the I bought it $8 check marks, but like years ago, like you've seen them on national television or your regional or sports, or that I've had plenty of people with, names that faces that you've seen, and careers that you would be envious of, who I tweeted that on a random Tuesday and they slid in my DMs like, yo, I'm going through something. So I say that to say that honestly and transparently, it is me sometimes. And it's even people who you might think it wouldn't be, it can be. And you do not need to be ashamed of it. You do not have to run away from your feelings. I'm not saying to do anything rash, but if you need a shoulder to lean on, there are people there that can support you. And if you hear me and I'm one of them, and if you just see that, or I've even had people and I actually retweeted this a couple of times in 2020, because things happened in the world and in South Florida. And somebody just came on timeline and said, oh my God, I have a family member going through a crisis. They're talking about killing themselves. And I had my mentions flood. Hey, hit Underwood Sports, hit him. Hey, Cam, did you see this? And again, I'm never too busy. I will always take the time. And there's so many other people who are even more skilled to help you than I, who are there 24/7, 365. And if it's a tough time, I understand, because I've been there, and transparently, not going to give you the full chapter and verse, but I'm in a little bit of a challenging time right now. But there are people there for me, and there are people there for you. And I just want you to honestly and truly know that. And I thank you for being here. And I, just wanted to make sure that you knew that if you need something, I'm here, or someone else is here for you.
Yeah, that's a tremendous message. That is a tremendous message. And I believe that one of the big issues for people facing whatever they're facing that causes them to go into a isolated or a dark place is that they believe that there's something wrong with them because they feel like that, when in fact, do not buy into the Facebook or Instagram life of everyone around you.
Look, you've seen Robin Williams, that's why I told the story of my father committing suicide. That hit everybody. Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade, all these people you think are in these places and have these lives and everything that's so incredible. They choose a different path. And then also on top of that, there is a real stigma for men sharing their feelings and thoughts, and depending on your age and everything, I'm maybe a little old school, where I was around for some of that mentality. So, I know that sometimes people want to deal silently, like, nah, man, nah, I got it. Like, I'm not going to say anything. And it just continues to fester and everything. And you don't have to be ashamed to open up. I'm not saying that you got to, tell everybody, not just walk into Publix, hey, I'm dealing with, no, not that, but finding a safe space to be able to work through your emotions, whatever it is, and deal with whatever it is. Those things are there for you. So, as I just wanted to bring that up, as, I do wish everyone, a healthy and safe Thanksgiving. And like I said, transparently, the holidays have been tough for me for 15, 17 years, and it's going to continue like that. So I get it personally. And I just want to let you guys know that. And also, just thank you for being here with me and Mark, being here with us on the website, stateoftheu.com. We're always open. Please come fan with us. And as Joe Schmo says, I do enjoy the show, but some things are bigger than sports. And I did want to just take the time to to bring that up. And hey, if all you want is, hey, stick to sports and, tweet about your F1 game and, Top Chef and things like that, and that's as deep as you want it to go, great. But if that speech that I just made, even affected one person in a positive way, then that is worthwhile for me. And whether it did or not, again, we're just going to put it out there, and I'm just going to take it on faith. And I just really appreciate all of you for supporting us, continuing always.
Cam, thank you so much for all that you just said. That is a tremendous message. Yeah, that's amazing. And yes, absolutely. All right, man. Thank you for all that you do.
Absolutely. And you as well, guys. Take care. We'll see you soon.